Paula Pant, the host of the Afford Anything podcast, likes to answer questions her listeners send in. This is a special episode where she also has Joe Saul-Sehy from the Stacking Benjamins show join in the fun.
Hi Paula, my name is Nicky and I'm actually from Australia, so I know things can be a bit different between Australia and America, particularly when it comes to finances and things like that, but I was interested in hearing your general advice, as I think that your attitude towards finances and life in general is really inspiring. So me and my husband have been debating the benefits of having health insurance a lot lately, and other insurances in general, like car insurance and home and contents insurance and things like that. I get his point of, wanting to have all of our bases covered, and the fact that if anything goes wrong, then we can fall back onto something. But I kind of think that we're better off saving that money that we would be paying the company and just putting it aside for ourselves in terms of emergency funds. Now, are we better keeping the insurance or getting rid of the insurance and then saving, or maybe even trying to save the money alongside the insurance payments until we reach a certain amount? I just feel like we are kind of wasting money giving it to a company when we rarely even take anything from them. I mean, we're quite young and healthy. We don't ever get sick, or we rarely take out extras, and I've never been in an ambulance in my life. Our car, on the other hand, is also really old. It's not very expensive, it's not worth much. So I don't know if it's worth keeping that insured either. Just interested in your opinion on insurances in general and whether or not you think it's worth it. Thanks. Bye.
I could listen to her all day.
She has such a beautiful voice, beautiful accent.
It's amazing. I had a roommate in college who was from Brisbane, Australia, and he would just lay it on, man. He would just absolutely lay it on, especially when women were around. He'd bring out the koalas and. But anyway, Paula, this is a little known fact, but people say that about me. Like, I walked into Chili's last week and somebody said, "That is a lovely accent. Where are you from?" And I said, "Southwest Michigan, close to the Indiana border." They're like, "Oh, I could listen to you all day." It's amazing. Nicky and I have a lot in common there.
No wonder you host such a popular podcast, Joe.
It's all this accent. Yeah. Everybody wants that middle Midwestern thing. It's very exotic, like Nicky says. But Nicky's got a great question about insurance, doesn't she?
She does. Although, before we answer it, can I very quickly say I spent 10 months in Australia, and I remember among the words that stood out to me were the pronunciation of banana, which was banana, and this one totally surprised me. The car, Nissan, was Nissan over there.
Really?
Yeah. Nissan. In fact,
and I wonder who's wrong. Is it us or them?
Well, it's a Japanese car, so probably both.
Right.
Probably both wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we actually owned a Nissan Patrol during our 10 months in Australia. So now I can cross that off my bucket list.
I still have that one coming. I've never been to Australia. I'd really like to go.
Well, Joe, maybe one day you and I can record an episode from Australia. We can go to...
all we need is the invite from Nicky. That's what we need.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, so Nicky, you're probably wondering when we're ever going to answer your question. So let's get to it, I guess. By the way, that car that you have that's not worth very much, is it a Nissan Patrol? I hope so.
I bet it is.
So Joe, what is your take on her question? I know what I think, but I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to pass this one to you.
I always love that you ask me to go first and then you tell me exactly where I'm wrong, which I love. About,
do you want me to go? I can go first.
No, that's fine. You know what I'd like, Paula? I like the way she frames the question, because what happens with most people is they're sitting with an insurance salesperson, right? And the insurance salesperson starts telling them about the insurance and about all the great things about it. Nicky asks the better question, which is, what do I really need? And I think whenever you make a decision like that, you're not making an insurance decision, which I don't like making insurance decisions. I like making the kind of decision that Nicky's making, which is a risk management decision, right? I have these risks in my life, and what's the best way to handle that risk? So it comes down to a couple things. I really don't like the fact that she's talking about, well, I've never been in an ambulance, I've never been hurt. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen tomorrow. And I hate, I would meet with back when I was a financial planner, I would meet sometimes with people and we'd talk about their lack of disability insurance. And they'd say things like, well, I'm a really safe skier. I've never had a problem. So what I like doing is I think of myself as an actuary. And what actuaries do in the insurance industry is they look at the risk, and the insurance cost is based on the risk. So as an example, I think these are directionally the right numbers. Your home, if you buy homeowners insurance, the risk of something happening to your home in a given year is 1 in roughly 1,200. The risk of something happening to you in your car is around 1 in 350, I believe. Could be wrong, but it's going to be in that general area. So that's why when you look at insurances, your car insurance costs more than homeowners insurance. It isn't based on the value. If your car's worth more than your house, well, it clearly, number one, isn't a Nissan, whatever that is. But then number two, you might have a problem if your car's, not the best accommodations if your car's worth more than your house. So I like looking at insurances. What's the chance that something's going to happen to me? So once I look at the probability, then I like looking, Paula, at how can I cover it? Because if I talk to an insurance person, I automatically am going to think of insurance. But if I'm making a risk management decision, maybe there's another way to cover it, right? So I look at when she talked about health insurance as an example. Once again, to rephrase that, what's the chance that something bad's going to happen to my health? It's actually fairly good, and it's going to get better as you get older. Well, going to get worse, I suppose, is the correct phrase, as you get older. So health insurance for me is possibly a big thing, but I think about, are there other ways I can handle this besides health insurance? Maybe. But what's the cost of that stay going to be? I don't know what that is in Australia. In the United States, it's ginormous, to use the technical term. So for me, health insurance is got to have it. It's going to be way too expensive for me to cover. And especially since for me, I'm in a relationship with someone else. Cheryl and I have been married next year for 25 years.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. If I get really sick, Paula, I'm blowing through all my assets. And now if I die, Cheryl's left with nothing. So for us, for that reason, health insurance is really important. She talks about her auto insurance on the other side. She said her car's not worth much. She has a sizable cash reserve. In the United States, you have to have car insurance as part of our laws here. I don't know if that's the case in Australia. But if you can replace the auto and get by any liability, I don't know once again about lawsuits, because a lot of our auto insurance has also covered lawsuits from other drivers. If you can get through the lawsuit unscathed, then I'd say having a cash reserve and not having that insurance might be a better plan.
Right. Joe, I'm totally with you. I agree that insurance is one thing that concerned me about the way that Nicky framed the question is she said, we don't use it. Insurance is a purchase that you never want to use. Like, ironically, it's one of those things that you buy that you hope you will never have to use. So the fact that you're not using it doesn't mean that it is an ill-informed purchase. The fact that you're not using it doesn't mean that it's a waste of money. In fact, that's the best case scenario. Great. It's fantastic that you're not using it. I view insurance as almost a form of bankruptcy protection, or a form of protection against bills that are higher than what you could reasonably pay. Or another way to phrase that, as long as I'm phrasing things poorly right now, is insurance is what you're buying is protection against the risk of losing a significant chunk of your assets as the result of X or Y or Z. So health insurance, perfect example. You're not prepaying for that ambulance trip. That's not what health insurance is. With health insurance, you are buying protection against the risk that you will have to lose a lot of your assets or declare bankruptcy or otherwise end up in a very, very tough financial situation as a result of a cancer diagnosis or a broken leg or a burst appendix or anything else that might happen. So that's what you're buying.
Yeah. You know what's sad is that when I would meet with families and they didn't have much money and they were struggling, the first thing they wanted to do was raise their deductible. That's the amount you're going to pay in the case of an accident or whatever it might be. And they also wanted to talk about eliminating insurance. Yeah. And it's funny because the way that you and I talk about the problem, the people that can afford to eliminate insurances are people that have significant assets. Right. So people think about it backwards. Get rid of insurances when you have plenty of assets to cover that. And it still doesn't affect your lifestyle, doesn't affect anything. You have to keep it if you haven't developed that portfolio yet.
Right, exactly. The way that I frame that is only eliminate an insurance when you have enough money that you can self-insure against that. So, for example,
Right. Yep.
if you have a car that's worth $5,000 and you have enough money that you could easily and fully replace that car if that thing got totaled, then you don't need coverage that would otherwise replace the car. You do need coverage, of course, to comply with laws. And again, I don't know what the laws are in Australia. In the US, there's a minimum legal car insurance that you are legally required to have. But beyond that, the point at which you eliminate car insurance is the point at which you self-insure. The point at which you eliminate the rest of your car insurance is the point at which you can self-insure because you have a thick enough emergency fund to do so.
I'll tell you also on a related note, Paula, when you eliminate insurances, going back to my analogy with the actuaries, and they're looking at the probability that something will happen, everybody wants to eliminate in their life the insurances that are really expensive. Everyone wants to keep the insurances that are really cheap. And if you think about that, if there's an actuary at the insurance company, the reason why an insurance type is really expensive is because they think you're going to use it.
Right.
And they need to get their money back. If an insurance is really cheap, they think it's not going to be used. So when I was a financial planner, I would eliminate things like accidental death and dismemberment, especially if you have a desk job and you have good disability insurance. Get rid of that AD&D coverage. Insurance on your pets, that can be valuable, but a lot of the time you're flushing money down the toilet. Cancer insurance, unless you live in a hurricane zone, okay, maybe hurricane coverage. But I see people that have these wacky insurances that are really cheap and really inexpensive add-ons that somebody convinced them to buy, and they hold on to them because they don't cost much. They don't cost much because you're never going to get your money back.
Right. Exactly. And sometimes those are valuable, like liability umbrella policies.
Right.
They don't cost much and they're fantastic. And again, that is an insurance that hopefully I will never have to use. Hopefully nobody who owns it will ever have to use it. But it's cheap and it can save your butt in the event that you will ever have to need it. But I also completely agree with what you just said, which is that there are many insurances that are cheap that are not necessary or perhaps redundant. That's the other thing. There are a lot of people have redundant insurances, so that's worth taking a look at as well.
That's a British phrase that I like. I mean, not Australian, but it's a British phrase. When they talk about redundancy, we talk about people getting laid off. In Britain, they talk about redundancy.
Yeah, being made redundant.
Yeah, I like that better. I don't know why. I always thought that's a cool phrase.
Yeah, I like that too. The other phrase that I really like is have a go. Yeah, I love that one.
We're having a go at these letters today.
Yeah, or just like, I'll have a go at it. Oh, do you want to slide down this slide? Sure, I'll have a go at it. Yeah, I love that phrase.
I don't know where to go with that.
Okay, our last comment that I'm going to make about insurance before we switch to the next caller is that if, for somebody like Nicky, who seems to be in a good financial place and who has, good cash savings and a good emergency fund, in that type of situation, there's definitely an argument to be made for increasing your deductibles because, typically the higher your deductible, the lower your monthly premium. And again, if you have the cash reserves to cover it, then you can self-insure not for everything, but for that deductible portion. So my health insurance, for example, has an insanely, ridiculously high deductible, and that's fine with me because I'm young and healthy and I keep health insurance around only to protect my assets in the event of a worst case scenario, a catastrophic scenario. So I don't expect my health insurance to pay for any type of medical care that I receive in what, knock on wood, hopefully will be a normal year. I essentially expect it to be catastrophe insurance. And because of that, I've got a high deductible and relatively lower premiums. So Nicky, that's what you can do if you want to shave off some of the money that you're spending there. I can't believe we've just talked about insurance for how long? I don't know, 10 minutes or something? Is anybody still listening?
And that's the show.
Hello. Are you still listening? Do you realize you are listening to a podcast about people talking about insurance?
I love it when we talk about insurance this way because most people don't. And when I dig into insurance this way as risk analysis instead of insurance analysis, much more fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. When you said that thing about, the way I like to approach it is I think of myself as an actuary. First thought that popped into my head, and I didn't want to interrupt you, I was like, Joe, you should put that on your Tinder profile.
Yeah, the Tinder profile would go over great with Cheryl. Yeah, so what are you doing? Swiping my phone? What are you referring to?
Oh, geez, but where else could you put a phrase like that? I mean,
I don't know.
Signature line of your email?
Yeah.
Maybe get it as a tattoo.
Want to be an actuary. We'll put that at the start of the Stacking Benjamin show. That's what we'll do. Two guys who want to be actuaries. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, Nicky, I hope that helps. I hope we've sort of kind of answered your question, and enjoy driving your Nissan.
Hey, did you enjoy this excerpt from the Afford Anything podcast? Then click to download our free ebook, Escape. You'll be taken to a page where you can enter your email for immediate access to everything you need to know about escaping the 9-to-5 grind to live life on your terms. And you can also subscribe with one simple click to get alerted when new videos are uploaded.